Welkom by vanaand se uitsending. 2 weke gelede is aangekondig dat die inkomstediens vanjaar 'n verlies aan inkomste van sowat R285 miljard verwag. Watter ander uitdagings wag vir SARS en wat beteken dit vir die ekonomie? Edward Kieswetter, kommissaris van die inkomstediens, sluit nou by my aan. Mr. Kieswetter, welcome to the program.
Goeienaand, Wilma. Gaan dit met jou?
Dit gaan baie goed, dankie. En met u ook, ek wil by weet hoe erg julle tekort hierdie jaar kan wees.
Soos ons in parlement 2 weke gelede aangekondig het, as die ekonomie afneem met bykans tussen minus 5,5 en omtrent 16%, dan kan ons bykans 240 tot 285, maar jy weet, dis op hierdie stadium van die wedstryd is dit vroeg, ons modelleer hierdie vooruitskattings, maar dit kan ten minste tussen 250 en 300 miljard kort wees van die doelwit of die teiken wat die minister in Februarie gestel het.
Meneer Kieswetter, en indien die vlakke van inperking verlig word, ons praat nou van vlak 3 volgende maand, hoe groot verskil maak dit aan julle vermoë om belasting in te vorder as die inperking verlig word, of nie eintlik veel nie?
Maar dit is miskien belangrik om net te kyk, voor ons COVID-19 in die oë gestaar het ons al reeds afname in ons ekonomiese aktiwiteite en kapasiteit ervaar. Om 'n paar net punte vir jou te gee. Verlede jaar het ons 288.000 afleggings, wat 21% hoër was as die vorige jaar. Ons het net in Februarie hierdie jaar het ons 12% meer likwidasies ervaar en 14% meer insolventies. Die sektore wat aangetast was landbou, bosbou en visbedryf, het bykans 8% verlaag. Die konstruksie sektor bykans 6%. Die groothandel en kleinhandel was amper 4%. Vervoer, berging en kommunikasie was meer as 7%. So ons sien, toe ons die, amper wil ek sê, op die pylvlak was en COVID-19 in die oë gestaar het, was ons al reeds in 'n afwaartse neiging.
Goed, maar baie skade word nou deur die inperking aangerig. Dink u dat ons te stadig die ekonomie weer aan die gang kry?
Wel, ek wil nie sê of te vinnig of te stadig is nie. Wat ek baie duidelik wil aanvoer, is dat ons sien alreeds die impak van die sogenaamde lockdown. Jy weet, die regering het aangekondig uitstel van skuld, skuldkompromie en ander maatreëls wat maatskappye kon gebruik deur hierdie. Ons sien alreeds meer as 100 aansoeke vir die skulduitstel. Ons sien alreeds amper 10 miljard aanvraag vir skuldkompromie. Ons sien alreeds 31.000 afleggings. So net gedurende hierdie afgelope 2 maande het ons alreeds die impak van die lockdown gesien. En natuurlik, hoe stadiger die infasering van ekonomiese aktiwiteite oor die volgende paar maande bestuur word, hoe groter of hoe breër en hoe dieper gaan die skade wees.
Meneer Kieswetter, wat is die vinnigste herstel waarop Suid-Afrikaners realisties kan hoop?
Well, if I can just maybe switch to English, what's important is to understand that you have 2 extremes. The one is to prevent the spread of the virus, and the other is to prevent the destruction of the economy. And we have to find a way somewhere in the middle so that we can coexist with the virus. And I think the pressure on government is there is no upside to getting it wrong. If you go too far to managing the health outcomes, you kill the economy, and you get criticized for that. If you go too far to opening up the economy, more people will die of the virus, and so you'll be criticized for that. And so I think one must accept, whatever our position may be, that we are on a steep learning curve, and there will always be those of us, including myself, my day job is to collect revenue, that could hope that the economy opens faster, that we get to normalization sooner. And there are two reasons for that. The first is that if we don't open up the economy, it's not only the downward trend of economic activity, it is also the loss of economic capacity, because every job that we lose will be so much harder to replace. Every business that goes under will be so much longer, so much harder to recover. And so our message into the decision-making process is to just talk to the facts, not to the judgment or the necessarily the whether it's a wise decision or not. We simply speak to the facts of the impact on the economy and therefore the impact on tax revenue. And that is where we've modeled that we could experience such a significant shortfall in revenue.
Let's look at the facts just for a moment longer. The tax base is not growing at the moment in this crisis, right? You'll have fewer people capable of paying tax when this is over.
Oh, absolutely. Which is why what I mentioned earlier on, which is the longer-term impact of the current lockdown. So the longer we stay in lockdown, the much harder and the longer it will be to come out of that. But I think maybe to the extent that I can speak to South Africa, it's not just about reopening the economy. We have a wonderful opportunity to do four things. The first is we can reimagine the economy. Ons kan 'n beter samelewing vir onsself indink. En nie net die op 'n gelyke vlak die ekonomie weer heropen nie, want die ekonomie en ons samelewing was in elk geval nie ideaal nie. We found ourselves in a time where, at a time of crisis, the poorest and those who are most disadvantaged, they suffer the most. And so government has to look at how do we reimagine public health facilities? How do we address 2.5 decades into our democracy? We still haven't sufficiently addressed the backlog of housing, of public transport. Our social arrangements is still significantly 30 decades old. So daar bestaan vir ons 'n geleentheid om hierdie krisis te gebruik en om die arme en die benadeelde dele van ons gemeenskap ook aan te spreek. En as ons dit nie doen nie, dan het ons hierdie COVID-krisis heeltemal vermors. The third important lesson for me is that you and I consider myself to be part of the privilege. And you know, one of the things that this virus is teaching us, it is no respecter of class, of culture, of creed, or of color. And therefore, we cannot continue to have this attitude that we want to preserve our privilege, because a virus anywhere to anyone is a threat of the virus to everyone. And so I think this, more than anything before, this has shown us that we have to think about the greater good of South Africa. We have to move beyond the us and them dichotomies in our society. And for the first time, I think government on the one hand will be hugely tested to step up, as well as those of the public and private other sectors of our community. And the last point I want to make in terms of how we have to use this crisis is to accelerate the future. We cannot remain in our legacy business models. You know, technology disruption has been warning and cautioning for the last number of years. It is now here. To simply restore old business models is really taking us backwards. You know, a wonderful anecdote I'll share with you and then I'll pause, is in the last week we've learned of a company that have found a vaccine, and the scary difference is that they did not use normal lab cultures. They received the genetic code from China, and within 2 days, using machine learning, they developed a sequence for the vaccine. And I think that's the future. If I think about us as SARS, we are accelerating our Vision 2024 to build a smart modern SARS. In the last 2 months, we have taken all of our services digital. You don't have to come to a SARS office to fulfill any of your tax obligations. And I think that is an important way that we need to reimagine how we come back to the economy. So as keen and as excited as we are, I think we must also just pause for a moment and ask what kind of society do we want to re-emerge after the crisis of COVID-19.
Thank you so much, so we're out of time. Thank you very much. Daar lê nog baie vir ons voor. Ek gesels met twee kenners oor die regering wat bond staan weens al die hofsaake teen die inperkingsregulasies. Ek wil ook by die premier van die Wes-Kaap, Alan Windey, weet waarom die Wes-Kaap die episentrum van die pandemie genoem word en of hy verwag die provinsie sal bly op vlak 4. Bly ingeskakel.